Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Love Your Vibe podcast. I'm your host, as always, Sean Grant, and I am super excited and happy to be with you here today. Almost the weekend, definitely something to look forward to as we move along during the week. So I'm just going to get right into it. And, I'll touch on something real quick before I get into the topic of today. Guys, and I really want to be as upfront and truthful as possible with this. If there is someone in your life, no matter family, friends, whoever it is, that consistently seems like problems, unfortunate circumstances, just all around bad luck follows them, do your very best to distance yourself from that person. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm not saying that to be cruel. I'm saying that because we attract and manifest every single thing that goes on within our deeper thoughts, within our dominant belief, within what we deep down expect for ourselves. And, this can be very hard, especially if it becomes somebody who's a family member or somebody you work in close detail with. But if there is someone who repeatedly seems like they are the bearer of bad luck, distance yourself, because what will happen is that energy, if you're not careful, can find its way to affecting you, because I can guarantee you that this person will play the victim card every single opportunity that they get. They will always play a victim to make it seem like it's not their fault. And if it can happen to them, it can happen to you. That's bullshit. At the end of the day, that is not the way the universe works. That is not the way the world works. You determine your own luck. You determine your own circumstances. Sure, there are things that happen to us that we can't really control, but the majority of the time we can control things. We have free will. We have the ability to choose what we can have happen in our life through our vibrations, right? And so the vibration you need to be sending out consistently is one of joy, one of harmony, one of happiness, one of provision, one of protection, one of peace, and you will be fine. You won't have to worry about the so-called quote unquote bad luck, but you will develop a fervor towards living your greatest life possible. So I just wanted to throw that in there, just because I hate to see people fall victim to by stuff that they don't know. Because sometimes, people will try to tell you or enlighten you of what is going on and why something is working, but people oftentimes won't listen. So it's up to us to be able to make those changes where we're needed. All right. So now that I got that out the way, that was just something that was really important. I felt like I needed to express, and I feel like a ton of you guys probably needed to hear it as well. So the power of self-talk and self-love. And this is one of my favorite episodes, one of my favorite things to talk about. Why? Because so few people do it. I can't begin to tell you how many people I've passed on the road, and I live in Los Angeles, so there's like 7 million people driving around in the city. But I can't tell you how many people will pass and look at me as I'm sitting in my car driving, and I'm talking to myself. I'm sitting there, if it's heavy traffic and I'm stopped, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm talking to myself. I'm basically, if you would, being a motherly, fatherly figure to my deeper self. And like I said, for so many people, this seems absolutely bananas. But I tell you, from the bottom of my heart, with everything on my life, when you do this, when you do practice self-talk, self-love, and I mean, you give yourself everything you felt like you were missing, life transforms. And I say that a lot, but I am so serious when I tell you your life will transform when you take the time. I'll give you an example of how my self-talk sounded this morning as I'm walking the beach. I basically, in third person, but I'm talking to myself, I'm saying, Sean, I think you're amazing. I think you're phenomenal. More importantly, I love you unconditionally. Things have always seemed to be at a point to where they look like they're challenging, but your resourcefulness and your resilience has helped you to continue to be deserving and worthy of every great thing that comes your way. And so that's just kind of an example of one thing that I said, but I consistently, I try to go as deep as possible, because basically I'm talking to all those areas of myself that may possibly feel unloved, that may feel like they're not cherished. But the truth is, we have to cherish every part of who we are, no matter how ugly it seems on the outside. It is your obligation to love that part of yourself. And nothing goes any better than when you can stand in the mirror for like 3 to 5 to 10 minutes, however long you have, and just basically fall in love with the person you see. And when I say fall in love, look them straight in the eye, because it's beautiful. It can reflect. Look them straight in the eye and just talk about how much you truly do love the person looking back at you, how appreciative you are, how fortunate you feel you are by having this body, by having this face, by having that smile, by affecting people the way that you do. And this becomes such a beautiful thing, because here's what happens, especially in relationships, and I've been teaching about coaching about relationships here for a long time. The thing that happens with people not being able to have the relationships that they want, or the ideal partner that they desire, is because they don't love themselves enough. And when I say you don't love yourselves enough, if you love yourself less than unconditionally, then you have some work to do. And we all, it's a lifelong process. It's not something that some of us have and then some of us don't. Some of us have a higher level of self-love, no doubt. But at the same time, if you're not loving yourself unconditionally, then you have to work on your self-love. You have to tell yourself 50 times a day and truly mean it that you are deserving, you are worthy. Because at this point, what happens is, getting back to relationships, you give yourself all of the love that you could ever need, and whatever else anybody gives to you is extra. And so the beauty of this is, you can tell how much self-love you're getting by what's reflected to you from the people outside of yourself. So I take, for instance, my wife, and she's amazing. She's wonderful. She's just basically everything I could have ever dreamed of. And she gives me so much love. She gives me so much love. Now, that's because we share that connection, but also because I spend so much time telling Sean Robert Grant how much I love him and how much I appreciate him. It's just reflected from my wife what it is that I'm truly feeling. So I walk around feeling even more loved, because the love that I have for myself is being compounded with the love my wife is sharing with me, which is ultimately a reflection of what I'm feeling inside for myself. And so it's such an amazing thing to see. But when you start with relationships, and I had a session yesterday, and this is just something that I feel like we all not only need to learn, but to consistently be reiterated of, is that when we start with relationships, with friendships, with people in our lives in general, we have to come from a place of unconditional self-love. Okay? And if you can come from that place of unconditional self-love, you will find that your relationships, platonic and romantic, will match up and will be in a space of consistent peace, consistent bliss, consistent joy of wanting to be around that person. When someone drags you down, nobody wants that shit. Nobody wants to be hearing about problems and hearing about issues and hearing about how this went wrong or that went wrong. That's not what friendships are about. That's not what relationships are about. Relationships are knowing that you can come to that other person and they can pick you up and help you feel greater than you already are. Okay? So, getting back to self-talk and how it relates to our career, how it relates to everything else in our life. Another thing is your self-love will be a direct correlation to what kind of career you have, what type of situations you are willing to put up with as it relates to work, as it relates to recreation, as it relates to anything. It's all indicative of the amount that you love yourself. And this is so important. I'm so glad that I got a chance to talk about this, because if you understand nothing else, understand that it's important to love yourself so much, more than anybody else. You better love yourself more than your husband. You better love yourself more than your wife. You better love yourself more than your boyfriend, girlfriend, your friends. You have to love yourself more than anybody else, anywhere, ever, at any time. Because if you don't, you will begin to question those things that you can potentially learn to unconditionally love. That's just the way it happens. When you don't have a high level of self-love, anybody can come in and say something extremely rude, and you take it to heart, you get upset, and then you start to feel down on yourself and you start to lose confidence, and it's just a domino effect. So you can kind of get the gist of what I'm saying as far as practicing that level of self-love. So with that being said, guys, we're having a little bit of time left. What I want to share with you today is the practice of self-love, which equates to the power of self-love, and then, self-talk as well. So in order for us to reach that point of ever-evolving unconditional love, here's what we're going to do. And I'm just warning you, you probably will feel pretty uncomfortable in the beginning, but, and this is a huge but, it definitely will be worth it. So what I want you to do, it doesn't have to be in the morning, but sometimes the morning works best when you first wake up. Be alone by yourself. Don't get interrupted. I want you to commit to 3 minutes or more per day of just basically looking into your eyes and telling you everything that you love about the person you see. And really, really, really look that person in the eye. And you'll know something is changing because, one, you'll start to get goosebumps if you really believe the stuff that you're telling yourself. And not only that, you'll see your pupils begin to change when you're revealing these deep feelings of emotion, of care, of love, of positivity. It's such a beautiful process that takes place. I can't wait for you to get the opportunity to experience it. But I definitely want you to experience this in every way, shape, size, and form. And if you're really looking to take it to another level, I've got a product called Energize Your Love that's on iTunes right now. It's an album, Energize Your Love. It's only $6.99, I believe, and it's so great because it's a constant reminder of not only how we should treat others to create more love in our lives, but how we should treat ourselves. And it's called Inspirational Audio. That's the name of the product. The name of the product is Energize Your Love, but it's from what I call the concept of inspirational audio. So with that being said, go pick that up if you get a chance. Like I said, $7, not much at all. You get 7 great tracks to listen to over and over that will help you to become a more self-loving and loving person in general. But hold on to that practice that I gave you. Any chance that you get. It's only limited to 3 minutes a day, but if you can do more, the more you do, the more you will benefit from it. Okay, guys, it's been a pleasure. As always, thank you so much for joining me. Greatly, greatly appreciate you. And I look forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.